KMSU.
Yes, Dustin, please.
This is Dustin.
This is Keith Coogan.
Keith, how you doing?
Very good, sir. How are you?
I am excellent, and I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you? What was your name?
Ton, like 2,000 pounds?
Like a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. How are you, Keith?
I'm great. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, well, thanks for calling us here. We got some riveting questions here for you if you have time.
They couldn't possibly be that riveting, but I will do my best.
Well, it's about your career, so.
That's why they couldn't possibly be that riveting.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
No, go for it.
All right, well, first of all, I'll ask you how you got started in acting.
Oh, gosh. I was a young little boy, about 5 years old or so, and watching all of a sudden I'm from Minnesota. I don't know why. We were here in, I think it's Sacramento, and living quite humbly, and just watching these kids on TV, you know, and they're having such a fun time. I was like, I want to be one of those kids on TV. And my mom quickly seized the opportunity and thrust me down to L.A., and we seized on a kid's agent, and quickly got to work and really just did the stand-in, the extra, a line or two here or there, and then just kept at it. And I loved the set. I loved playing around with a bunch of grown-ups, and it was really fun. And they gave you the toys a lot of times from those commercials, so that was a big plus.
Well,
That's awesome.
you can really clean up back in the 80s.
Totally. Oh, man, I had the remote control cars and all sorts of shenanigans. It was great. Sucker Man, that was great. Big with suction cups on it. And if they wouldn't give it to me on the set, or it was like prototype, they're like, we really don't have one, or whatever. My mom and I would just steal one. So, like, dude, we're out of here.
At least you were classy about it. You didn't, like, throw a fit or whatever. You just slyly
no.
took one. That's nice.
Oh yeah, we're just quiet about it. Just hank it. Boom. And that was always, and it was always fun to work with different people. I remember a Viewmaster Viewer commercial, and I didn't know who, I was working with at the time, but it wound up being Henry Fonda.
Well,
And,
there you go.
that was really cool. I had no clue. My job was to hang upside down from a tree and look through the Viewmaster Viewer and be like, cool. He's like, when are we done with this stuff? When's lunch? But no, great. It was really fun to work with. I got to jump on sets with, Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters, and just learn from crazy old coots.
Yeah, wow.
And you made appearances on Ton's all-time favorite show, Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so great. That was, I had been following it. It hadn't aired yet, and I was excited about it coming just from being a fanboy of sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Knight Rider, this is going to be such a great show. Keith, you have an audition for Knight Rider. I just wet myself right then. And got it, and at that point in the career, it's jump and shout is really all you do as a child actor, is you jump onto your mark and you shout your lines with lots of energy. Mommy, the bike riders are, thrashing the town, whatever it is. And, Knight Rider, help, my mom's been kidnapped, or I've been kidnapped. That was even better. And so it was not a really depth, type of acting for kids. There wasn't a lot expected of us. And there were times where there were heavy crying, weeping, sobbing, and sometimes I'd get those, and sometimes I wouldn't. One great example of not getting it is the Champ with Jackie Cooper, who was going to play the Wallace Beery role, and they needed a new kid to replace Jackie Cooper. So I was like, dude, I'm Jackie Coogan's grandson. This isn't in. Well, there's Rick Schroeder. And he nails it.
Typical.
And I'm scared. I'm really scared. So I go, I audition, and it's a whole set with the cameras and the bars, and the dad's in jail, and he's like reaches through the jail and tells the kid to go away and like slaps him. Right in the middle of the scene, he smacks me, and I crack up. I'm like, I broke. I laughed. I wasn't really in the moment. And so there, I did not get the Champ.
I think this is the second person we've talked to who's complained about Ricky Schroeder.
Well, what do you
What
do
is it
with
with
the
that guy?
Once again, this is an East Coaster coming into our county, and he's talented, and he's nice, and he's family's nice, and he's prolific. What do you do with something like that? So everyone's just got to shoot, throw arrows at that one right there.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, as a child, you mentioned being the grandson of Jackie Coogan, who was Uncle Fester on the Addams Family. Did that get you like a guaranteed in on a lot of stuff, or did it make it harder for you? Or
I think to avoid any sort of knowing if that was going to affect it or not, and I don't know how we really pulled it off, but my mom used my birth name, so I was born, because it's my mom's father that was Jackie Coogan. So I was born Mitchell. I was born Keith Mitchell, and I did all my television from 75 through like 86, I think, up until I was actually on Silver Spoons. When I was on Silver Spoons, I was 16. At that point, I had changed my name to Keith Coogan. Just a few years after my grandfather passed away, and I was like, come on, it's time. I've done hundreds of this and that, and I think I've earned it. I can be Coogan now. And so we did. We little transitioned from a child into a teenager and kind of changed the name at that time. And so I don't know. I'm sure, we knew. I mean, there's got to, people looked over at my mom and were like, hey, Leslie, what's up? So they, I think they knew there's an industry thing. But then again, there's a thing where, it's not some unknown entity coming into town, and they don't know if the parents are going to freak out and ask for this or that or get, power hungry. They don't know. Are they going to bring a bunch of cousins onto the set to eat lunch? Here it was, we know they're pros, that kind of a thing. And so there is an expectation to just do it right, be a pro, show up on time, know your lines, that kind of stuff. And I guess sometimes that allows you to work on a deeper level, like attack something that you're afraid of. Comedy was something I was really shied away from. It was really easy for me to play, a petulant boy or a bad kid or, the victim child, but to do kind of comedy, that always, especially live audience stuff, that scared the bejeebin out of me. So, like Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, Growing Pains, Silver Spoons, shows, Just the Ten of Us, shows like that were always nerve-wracking for me. Flop Sweat, I can't remember my lines, just awful experiences. But by doing improv and stuff like that, I hope I'm over that. We'll see. I got an improv show this Friday, so oy vey. The Irish boy from Malibu. Oy vey.
Well, how did you start to transition between or from like television into movies, like and into landing Adventures in Babysitting, things like that?
It was really hard because there seemed to have been more of a split back of the day. Throughout the 80s and into the 90s, agents kept saying there's no difference between TV and film. But before then, throughout the 70s and into the 80s, there dang well was. Until Bruce Willis proved you can make a film career after the series and stuff like that, there was a big difference, and it was really felt in, he's TV. He's TV. He acts like TV. It's not a feature type of performer. There was a line. Other kids, like, let's say River Phoenix or even Rick Schroeder, could fall, even though Rick Schroeder started on Silver Spoons, this guy, could pull off the films. So it was really, I had to make some sort of cross, some big leap, and into the films. So it was very hard to go out for E.T., Goonies, Gremlins, just everything, and not get it. So tough, but close, and right in those years, 15, 16 years old. And so Chris Columbus, who's also he wrote Goonies, he wrote Gremlins. Part of that kind of Spielberg-esque, Joe Dante upbringing, he's got like the Amblin kind of magic, I guess. And this was his directorial debut, and he really believed I was right for Brad Anderson, and I totally wanted to support him on that. And so I just did whatever, and it was grueling. It was a lot of auditions. There was a lot of screen tests. There was 2 rounds of screen tests, I think. And the last round of screen tests was just ridiculous. Shooting and staging scenes in the car, scenes on the subway, the L train. Not as they existed in the film, really, more about the relationship stuff. So we didn't really play out the gang stuff. We just played out stuff between, like, say, Brad and Daryl, or stuff between Brad and Chris. So Adventures of Babysitting was a huge coup to get and do and have be, so fun, and have everybody respond to it the way that they did was just fantastic. Super, super, super lucky.
Do you remember anything particularly funny or weird that happened on the set, or any kind of stories like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Rolling Thunder production that's using crews from Toronto, Chicago, and L.A., and pulling in a lot of people from New York, really. I think they pulled, I want to say, like, the production ADs and stuff like that, because they were used to kind of East Coast and knew the terrain and knew who to hire. It was, I mean, this is a big show with lots of sets. They're building huge sets. And I have to say, to see them at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're the only ones awake, and they're like, we got to get those lights out, or we've got to get access to, let's say, L train station. They had some soft focus on one of the cameras, and it was a 2-picture shoot, so they had two of these Panavision Platinums, too, and I hadn't even seen them yet. I think they were using them on Interscope as well. It was one of the first movies shot on the Panavision Platinum, and they soft focus on the L train sequence. So they're like, oh, one of the cameras, it was a close-up, we need that shot. So the next night after we did regular shooting, they're like, we're just going to, jump up to the platform, we'll ride the train around the loop again, and we'll get the shot. Nobody's there to meet us from Transportation Authority. So it's a really light crew, camera, the stunt guy, and no one to let us in. Well, the stunt guy has a lockpick kit and quickly gets us access to the station, the platform, the trains. I couldn't believe it. We did it. We were in and out in less than an hour, got our shot. Nobody was the wiser. And I'd seen them on other films, too. After that, I've seen this attitude of, there's a car and they need it moved, get a couple grips on it. And what are they going to go find the guy? No, they're going to lift the car, and they're going to move it over there. There's just this brute force of, $10, $12 million rolling on. That's a moderate budget for the 80s. About 10 or 12 million, I think they were going with. Maybe they only spent 8. I don't know, but big enough. And then, I only really did a handful of Cousins, Toy Soldiers, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Hiding Out, of comparable budget. But Adventures I was spoiled on. It was just great. It was working for Disney, and Columbus is great. Now, I was pranked on the very last day of shooting, and I don't know who got me. It was actually the last day of shooting in Chicago. And we still had a week to go here in L.A., but we were letting go all of that crew, and we had our own special effects people out here. So we get finished, and I can't remember what we were shooting. It was probably running around with Pruitt in the tow truck or something. We get back, and that was also like the first stuff we shot in Toronto. So we get back and to the trailer, and I change out of my street clothes for the last time. out of my costume for the last time to get into my street clothes, and someone's put mustard in my shoe, and my foot just whooshes into it. I'm like, wait a second, all right, well, why do I need a check here? Because was I a bastard to anybody? Was I a brat on the set? No. I'm like, at least I don't hope I wasn't. But I was always confused as to who got me and why.
I bet it was Ricky Schroeder.
Dang you! Yes, if I can prove he was in the Chicago area in '87, I think I've got a case.
Had to be.
Wow.
God.